the question that we are leading off with here is, what if the entire world was powered by hamsters? And we mean like literal electrical power.
I thought you were going to say hamsters again. Literal electrical hamsters.
Literal electrical hamsters. I mean, I guess technically it is literally electrical hamsters. No, it's not literally electrical hamsters. I mean, it's figurative. I don't know. Anyway, English is hard. Point being, we're going to power the world with hamsters. So I guess to get started, we have to figure out how much power a hamster can actually generate. So figured the cleanest way to do this with regards to like, hamster powering something is running on a wheel, because that's the thing that hamsters just do naturally. Well, not, I guess, naturally, but hamsters run naturally. We put them on wheels, they figure it out. You get the idea. So we can calculate the amount of work that a hamster does running on a wheel, right? So work is basically just the force, applied to something over a distance. It's measured in joules, while 1 joule is the force of 1 Newton acting on an object in the direction of that force's motion for a distance of 1 meter. So pretty simply, you can break work down into just force times distance. So in this case, the force applied is going to be just the mass of the hamster. So that's what the hamster is moving. The most popular pet hamster breed is the Syrian hamster or golden hamster or teddy bear hamster. It's very cute. Which is what you think of when you think of a hamster. It's that hamster, right? An adult Syrian hamster weighs 4.2 to 4.4 ounces, or around 120 grams. The distance it's moving is going to be just the distance the hamster moves, which it turns out that Syrian hamsters will actually run around 9 kilometers or 5.5 miles per day, which is absurd. I want to put it out there that that's absolutely bonkers, right? Hamsters are really little.
Yeah.
I guess kilometers are bigger.
It's more
for
than
them.
I move around.
Yeah, right, exactly, right? It's pretty embarrassing when you think about it. So we can use that. We can figure out that the work done by a hamster in 1 day is 10,584 joules, which, to move it into a unit that's used actually for power, is 0.00294 kilowatt hours. So what's a kilowatt hour? I think we talked about this at some point in the show before, but just to review, a kilowatt hour, it's pretty simple. It's the amount of power used if you're using 1 kilowatt of power for 1 hour. I know, it's complicated.
I like how you preface that by saying we talked about before and that it was complicated, and you're gonna come and then it's it's the unit is what
it's
it is.
Literally exactly what it sounds like. It's literally just the 2 things in the name. Sometimes science makes things a little bit easier, and I appreciate it. So we have our power generation, but it's actually not quite that simple, because when you generate power through a mechanical process like this, you're gonna have losses. This is just because these systems aren't perfect, right? So to start off, you're going to lose some power just because of the motion of the wheel, right? It's not moving perfectly smoothly. You're going to lose some power that way. I'm not going to lie, I couldn't find an exact amount of, or percentage of power lost from a hamster wheel. For some reason, that number wasn't available online. So what I used instead for these losses is I found an article on bike generators that describe the losses from that, which is pretty much the same, principles. So we're just going to use those numbers instead. So you got the loss from the wheel, and the bike generators, that loss is around 10 to 20% of the power generated. You're going to need a battery, because hamsters are nocturnal, and I want to use my power not just at night, personally. So we're going to need to store it in a battery.
Reverse solar power problem.
Right, exactly. If you have hamsters and a sun, you can power anything you want to.
Well, any time you want, not anything.
Well, okay, I'm going to point out, if you have a sun, you can probably power anything you want to.
Okay, fair.
Fair.
And enough
All right.
hamsters, so continue.
Yeah. In the battery, you're going to lose 10 to 35% of the power as well. And then finally, to get it out of the battery, you're going to need a converter to move it back into alternating current, and that's going to lose another 5 to 15%. So your total loss is somewhere between 42 and 67.5%, which, side note, this is why bike generators suck, because you have to do a lot of work to get even less power than you should expect you should be getting. So anyway, best case scenario, let's say we're getting down to 42% loss. That's going to give us 0.0017 kilowatt hours. So let's give some context for that number. So something we all have to, I assume we all have to do because you're listening to a podcast. How much do you need to charge your phone? So I found a test where someone had basically measured the drain of their phone during an overnight charge. So they used an iPhone 6 Plus, and the charging took on average 19.2 watt hours. So our hamster is doing 0.0017 kilowatt hours, which is 1.7 watt hours, which means that your one hamster is going to take 11.3 days to charge a phone, which is not ideal. However, I'm going to say that that is the pessimist's glass half empty way to think about things. I'm going to say as an optimist that what it means is that if you have 12 hamsters, you can charge your phone in one night. There you go. So from there, let's scale up a little bit. So what if you want to power your whole home with hamsters? So in 2018, the average annual electric consumption for a U.S. residential utility customer, so that's not just full homes, it includes apartments and stuff, but it's going to be a pretty good average, was 10,972 kilowatt hours per year, which is about 30 kilowatt hours per day. So using that 0.0017 kilowatt hours per hamster, we're going to need about 17,647 hamsters to power a home, which is getting a little problematic because you're probably going to need several more homes to store that many hamsters. But we can still go bigger because really we need to, powering one home is not enough because we're powering everything. So I figured that the obvious next step would be to see how many hamsters it would take to replicate a nuclear power plant, since not as much of our power as nuclear probably should be, but a decent chunk is. So that's a good starting point. So the smallest nuclear power plant in the United States is the R.E. Gena nuclear power plant in New York. Has a single reactor, so it's a pretty good test case for our hamster system. In 2018, that power plant generated 4,689,440,000 kilowatt hours, which is about 2.7 trillion hamsters worth. We're going to have to cut this because that's a year. Hold on.
Oh, wait. My entire answer is wrong.
Oh, no. Oh, no. It's not. It's not entirely wrong, but I have to do some math really quickly. Hold on. Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad I caught that as it happened instead of right after Chris started doing his answer or something.
It's not a giant water drop situation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my god, that one.
So in 2018, this plant generated a total of about 4.7 trillion kilowatt hours, which is about 12.8 billion kilowatt hours per day. So in hamster power, this is going to require around 7.557 billion hamsters, which admittedly, it's a lot, right? It's a lot of hamsters.
It's like a hamster per person.
Yeah. So we're getting into some scale problems, which, speaking of, we obviously have to put all these hamsters somewhere. So if, hypothetically, like we do on this show, we are going to make this hamster nuclear plant, how big would it have to be? So from what I can see, the minimum humane hamster cage size is about 2 cubic feet. They recommend it's 1 by 2 feet, rectangle that's a foot tall. So that's going to be about 15 billion cubic feet. Renting a warehouse, the cubic foot cost is around 25 to 45 cents per cubic foot. I'm assuming this is per month. I couldn't actually find that stated anywhere. I looked in a bunch of places, and they all just quoted the same prices, but never how frequently. So
whether it was building it or buying it or renting it?
Right. I think I'm assuming from the context, it looked like rental. So I'm going to assume it's rental per month, which means that we'd be spending about $1.9 trillion to $3.4 trillion. Billion dollars. Sorry, lost my units. $1.9 billion to $3.4 billion on hamster storage every month. Although admittedly, it probably costs more than that to run a nuclear. No, it doesn't cost more than that to run a nuclear plant.
No, not $1 billion.
It does not. No, that would be the nail in the coffin from nuclear power, wouldn't it? Yeah. And the average warehouse in 2019 was about 184,000 square feet and roughly 30 feet tall. So it'd be about 2,500 warehouses full of hamsters. Obviously, we're ignoring, food and water and, oh God, the poop problem.
Oh, we have a poop problem.
But I guess overall, it would be, obviously, expectedly pretty impractical to run everything off of hamsters. And just because I couldn't help myself, I also, of course, had to calculate how many hamsters it would take to power the entire United States. I'll just jump for the end. It's about 6.4 trillion hamsters. I honestly don't think there's that many hamsters in the world.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. What's the population of hamsters?
Yeah, so I really tried on that one. I knew that was going to be a question that came up. I couldn't find that. The closest I could find was an estimate of 300,000 hamsters as pets in the UK in 2018, which, I mean, that means there's definitely a lot of hamsters in the world. Like, but it's definitely in the scale of like millions, not trillions. I think if there were trillions of hamsters in the world, we probably wouldn't notice. So overall, I think the big thing we've learned here is that hamsters are pretty inefficient in generating power, slackers. Although, I did find there is one additional way we could actually generate power from hamsters, and that power has been generated from hamsters, which is just by their natural movement. So there was an experiment that Rusin Yang, Yongqin Shang Li, and Guangzhou and Zhonglin Wang did in 2009. They wrote a paper called "Converting Biomechanical Energy into Electricity by a Muscle Movement-Driven Nanogenerator," where basically what they did was make tiny little vests out of these like conductive threads, and then put them. Well, the first thing they did was put them on like their fingers and mimed like clicking and typing and stuff, and basically the stretching of the muscles created like piezoelectric potential, which then they were able to attach and actually generate 0.1 to 0.15 volts just from this like these small movements. What they then also did was make a tiny vest and put on a hamster and did the same thing. Because, I don't know, I guess that's the next step once you've done it on your hand. Like,
I'm imagining, isn't there like a movie? It's reminding me of like a spy hamster movie that I think exists.
There was that one, I think it was it guinea
like
pigs?
G-Force or something?
G-Force. It was guinea pigs, right? Hold on.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
This
it
is-
wasn't hamsters, it was guinea pigs.
Yeah, I think it was G-Force. I'm glad that G-Force, if you Google G-Force, I don't know if this is because of my search history or just the world in general. If you Google just G-Force, the film is the second thing that comes up, which is really funny. Nicolas Cage was in this?
Yes, this is exactly the movie I was imagining.
And Steve Buscemi. Wow, this is something. Sam Rockwell, Tracy Morgan, Penelope Cruz. Well then, okay. That's something.
I'll say it's also the second result in my Google history, in my Google search. So
It was directed by Hoyt H. Yeatman.
Yeet man! That is the only thing he has directed, although he did work with Jerry Bruckheimer on Armageddon, Con Air, and The Rock. So that's, apparently he was a visual effects guy before this. And I would guess also a visual effects guy after this.
well, he clearly wasn't a director after it.
Yes, no, this is literally the only thing he has directed. I like that on the Wikipedia page, it notes that G-Force role director notes debut film. That is true. Also only film.
And best film, but his worst film,
Yeah.
and his longest film.
It's all true. What was I even saying? Jesus.
The vests. You're
The
talking about the
vests.
vests.
Anyway, yeah, I guess you could also put a little vest on the hamsters so that you get some extra power. I couldn't get any, this is obviously not a thing that people have done beyond this one study, and they didn't have any convenient numbers there, or really all that many numbers at all. They were pretty much just focused more on, it working than the power generation from the hamster. That wasn't really the goal. So I couldn't get any good numbers on how much we'd increase our generation by. I'm not going to lie. I don't think it would be that much.
Why don't they put this material on people instead of
So
hamsters?
I think that was the I remember hearing about this in Wired back when it first happened. I think the idea eventually was that you'd buy a hooded sweatshirt or something that would be made with this material in it, and then you could plug your phone into it as you walked around and you charge your phone. I just think it's some combination of expensive and not good enough that it hasn't really come to fruition.
It also might fall into the technological sinkhole that is, people don't want to wear something stupid.
That was a clip from Absurd Hypotheticals, the podcast where we answer dumb hypothetical questions. For the full episode, click on the link in the description.